What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Tonight, we're back with another live stream. We are talking about Tropical Storm Francine. We have a very full house at Storms United tonight, helping us out with everything. Let's go ahead and introduce our first people. Let's go ahead and start with Sakura. Sakura, if you can unmute yourself and say hello to our audience, say hello.
Hello.
All right. We also have John tonight, who's going to be helping mostly with behind the scenes, but he's also going to help out with some stuff with the chat. So, John, say hello.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. This is the first time we have him in here tonight. We have Kaiser, who is one of our mods from Storms United. Kaiser, say hello to the audience.
Guys.
All right. We also have a few other recurring guests. We have Tristan, obviously. Tristan, go ahead and say hello.
Good evening, everybody.
Yep. We have Storm Teen back for the first time in a little while. Storm Teen, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yep. We have Weather Kingdom. He's been a pretty good rising star in Storms United. Kingdom, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
All right, and we have Ian, who is joining us tonight, going to give us a little bit of razzle dazzle and some analysis. Ian, say hello.
What's good, y'all? Thank you. Yes, I will give some analysis
and some razzle dazzle, but still.
Yeah, razzle dazzle. Yes. Yeah. I just want to say this is a very interesting situation. This kind of reminds me of Humberto, but maybe a stronger version of it in a way.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
I can see it.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it.
I have the latest information from all the NOAA services. Actually, start with that.
All right.
Francine is expected to become a hurricane soon. Storm surge and hurricane warnings are in effect for the Louisiana coast. This is at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. It is north-northwest at 7 miles an hour. The pressure of 990 millibars are moving at 65 miles per hour. Tropical storm watches are in effect for a whole entire Texas coast, besides the areas of very southeastern Texas and northeastern Texas, which are now under tropical storm warnings. The northeastern coast of Mexico is also under tropical storm warnings or watches. Tropical storm watches are in effect for the New Orleans metro, going all the way to parts of southwestern Mississippi. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for the whole Louisiana coast, besides the New Orleans region, which has a tropical storm watch. Hurricane warnings are in effect for the coast of southeast Texas all the way to central east Louisiana, with a hurricane watch in effect a little bit inland, covered by a tropical storm warning.
Yep.
One of the biggest concerns for this system, and we're not going to talk about it as much only because we're waiting for the evolution of it, is a very pretty aggressive day-free tornado risk. A slight risk of tornadoes are in effect for parts of New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Gulfport, Mississippi, Kenner, and the surrounding areas. A marginal goes all the way to central Mississippi. We also have flood watch in effect for parts of the parishes of Louisiana, mostly around the New Orleans metro, I believe. New Orleans NWS so far.
All right.
And we got the Weather Prediction Center. Day 1, Weather Prediction Center. This goes for the rest of tonight. We have a slight risk of flash flooding in effect until tomorrow morning for areas of parts of the Brownsville metro. In southeastern Texas. We also do have a marginal risk stretching all the way to Louisiana to Florida. Day 2, we have a slight risk of flash flooding from Mobile, Alabama, all the way towards Brownsville. So a pretty decent shield because of a frontal boundary that is just north of Francine. And day 3, a moderate risk of flash flooding that is now extended all the way to the Jackson metro in Mississippi. This includes New Orleans. This basically includes almost all of Louisiana, except for the very northern and northwestern portions. A slight risk of flash flooding continues for the Florida Panhandle, half of Alabama, and most of Mississippi, in southeastern Texas, into southeastern and south central Arkansas. That is the latest information from all of these services for Tropical Storm Francine as of near 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right. Thank you very much, Tristan. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kaiser. He's been watching this system like a hawk. Let's go, Kaiser. I wanted to ask you some questions. We've been watching this for the last hour or so. We've noticed a few hot towers firing up near the center of circulation. What's your thoughts on the evolution of this system so far, and what takes do you have?
honestly, depending on how the cap erodes next few hours, we should see more and more hawk towers. Right now, these ones they're doing fine for what the environment is at the moment. But as that cap erodes, we should get more aggressive hawk towers. On radar, the core, it's still a mess. It's getting there, but it's got a ways to go before this is in a position to really rapidly intensify and just tap into that.
Yep, and we have the core on radar right now.
Waters.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else?
I do want to mention, we do have recon in the storm. They do say this thing's actually about 3 millibars deeper than the most recent National Hurricane Center advisory. It's around 992 winds. Not really changed.
All right. So this is still a deepening storm, but the wind speeds haven't caught up with it yet. In some regards. All right. Okay. All right. Would anyone else like to add on to what Kaiser said, or do we want to look at something else? Hello?
No, not really. I mean, I would say, are we like going around and doing our own opinion on the storm?
We're just looking at it and we're kind of giving our thoughts on it and how the system's evolving.
Yeah, I mean, once again, earlier today, this thing was looking like a beast, something out of the West Pac with the convection. Clearly, the convection has died down just a bit, but once again, as you guys have been seeing, is some new hot towers are developing, and I do agree that it is in a cap right now, but I do think this cap will break as these hot towers continue, and I think the
cap I'm sure is not what a lot of people tuning in understand for tropical weather at all. It's most commonly affiliated with severe weather, but could one of you guys explain kind of how it's kind of working with Francine and all the tropics that we're seeing right now? Hello?
Essentially,
all right, go ahead, Kaiser.
Essentially, the cap over Francine is working the same way it would work for a severe weather event. It's essentially a layer dryer just sitting over Francine. And it's making it harder for the updrafts in these hot towers to really get going. It's keeping the convection suppressed.
All right.
As it erodes, as we see with tornado outbreaks, we're going to start seeing thunderstorms start to fire over Francine. Almost called Irene there.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Right now...
Go ahead.
Right now, that cap should be breaking, given these hot towers. They're starting to get better, slowly but steadily. So it should be breaking over the next couple hours.
All right. Yeah, the next couple of hours, we'll be watching as well. I'm watching the satellite imagery with those hot towers firing up on the southern side of the circulation right there. Still needs plenty of time to organize, but ultimately, things have gotten pretty interesting for sure. We were watching this morning when this system went from potential tropical cyclone 6 to tropical storm Francine. Then things really started to go a bit haywire. This is what it looks like at 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time on here on my stream. This is what it looked like. Pretty scary looking blob right there. Something you'd see in the Sakura in the West Pacific. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, this is something we typically see in the West Pacific. I know a couple of typhoons have definitely done this over the past 10, 20, 30 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely something we want to keep our eyes on, because that's not something that happens in the Atlantic very often.
Yes,
and we know it's happening with Francine right now.
Yep.
But
this is why we talked about Western Pacific storms a little bit in that other stream. just for this
Shan
scenario
Shan
right
in
here.
particular,
Just
yeah,
for
Shan Shan in particular, yeah.
Yep, just
and
because of
Yagi,
this
too.
scenario. But we've what's up?
On live no mic, I got something that will tie into our story of Francine. I have sent 3 images between 24 and 72 hours of 250 millibar jet stream.
All right.
That's one of the pictures for Francine. These are the timelines here. As you can see, at 72 hours, you can see that big circle, a little bit more of a circle in the jet. That's Francine. At 48 hours, you see it going a bit more north because it's interacting with Francine here. If we want to show the viewers the jet stream evolution along with Francine. And that's one of the kickers that doesn't normally happen with tropical cyclones that we're watching to see if it interacts with it. But there's one thing that we've all been noticing, and normally I would be a little bit calmer about this. I can't stress this enough. If you are under a tornado watch during the system, depending on the evolution of the system, you need to pay special attention because this has the dry air up north. You got a frontal boundary. You got that moisture coming above an instability. And now you got a jet interacting with a strengthening low, making landfall with friction. The sounding from the Storm Prediction Center, the SRH, which is the Storm Relative Felicity, which is basically the spin in the atmosphere, was already almost 300 at the 0 to 1 kilometer on the northwestern side of the system. Now you may be thinking, well, it's not the northeast side. What that gives you is a estimate of what the conditions are with Francine by herself. This is not with the jet.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest concern. And when y'all talk about dry air, I don't see it as a weakness per se. I see it as if supercells could fire with the jet. If the evolution of the storm, let's say, focused on the western side being strong or being a hurricane, but then your right side, you can see it, Pat, on the imagery. You see all these little bands on the eastern side.
Oh, I'm
if
watching
that
them.
Small core is able to tighten, and those right bands are made because of that dry air, but then the jet is strengthening it.
Yeah, I've been watching it.
That could be a serious situation for tornadoes. We just have to watch the evolution, but with that jet also, it's just really, it's nervous. It makes us nervous.
Hey, just a heads up for everybody, seizure warning very quickly. I'm about to show some imagery on the 1 minute.
Should use my thing.
But yeah, it does
could you send it back to me so I can take a look at it?
Yeah, I'll see.
But it does give tornado potential vibes. But the question is, and I've seen this before also, this happened in Hurricane Ian. Not saying this is going to be the same.
Yeah.
When a boundary was developing with Ian, we were thinking the Storm Prediction Center went immediately cancerous for tornadoes, but no tornadoes happened. Why? Because there was just too much rain for the supercells in the boundary on the right, and the right side of Ian was just too symmetrical to give that tornado chance.
Yeah.
What would happen with this system? That's another evolutionary fact because this is not just going to be it's a hurricane by itself.
Yeah.
This is also going to have a boundary with it because it was interacting with another boundary to create the system because it was the remnants of Invest 90L and it was the new Invest 91L that ended up stacking on top of each other to be able to create the system. But Invest 9L was part of that boundary.
Okay.
So the question is, how does the frontal boundary interact with the tornado potential? Does it mute it out because of too much rain, or does it give it more capability? And again, we just have to watch the evolution. But the ingredients so far and the way Francine is developing, if it made landfall, it would be a really nice tornado producer if it kept up this far.
Yeah. All right. Before I get to what I want to ask Kaiser, we have Brendan, our general manager from Storm United, joining us tonight. Brendan, say hello to our audience.
What's going on, guys?
All right. All right. Before I turn to you, Brendan, I wanted to ask Kaiser something because I just noticed this on the infrared imagery about 2 minutes ago. I'm noticing there's some convection firing off, not by the core, but kind of in that gigantic band in the western, in the northwestern side, northwestern, like northwest of the core. If you can take a look at that, what's your thoughts on that starting to fire off a little bit more?
I think that's partly interaction with the coastline of Texas. This is in a concave coastline.
All right.
Essentially, the coastline itself is helping the storm organize.
Yeah.
As well, the cap is starting to break. We got 2 new convective towers starting to fire off on the southwest side of the core again.
Yep. I'm watching it as well. All right. Anything else would you like to add?
Yeah, apparently the upcoming advisory is going to include a new tropical storm warning for the lower Texas coast. Probably where that band is right now.
All right.
That's what I've been told. I don't know specifics on it.
All right. Well, they definitely need that right now. But in the meantime, Brendan, what are your thoughts on Francine? If you've been paying attention.
I have. I'm going to keep my thoughts relatively simple and straightforward here. I'm not going to really go into a big diatribe because I think a lot of you have already summarized where we're at with Francine and where we're going. What I will say, and this may underscore some of the previous points, I think that we are right now on the cusp of an RI with Francine, a rapid intensification cycle here within the next 12 to 24 hours. And considering the fact that a lot of the shear will be displaced to the north of the shoreline, the coastal line of Louisiana, I expect this thing to really make landfalls low in Cat 3. I think that's certainly not out of the question. The models have had a historically bad job at being able to keep up with RI cycles. That was certainly the case with Beryl this past year.
All right.
And I think we're seeing that happening again. I certainly think a high-end Cat 2, low-end Cat 3 is where I'm putting this by the time it makes landfall Wednesday.
Brendan, I just want to let you know that the models also have a bad time having storms interact with a jet. We saw this during Hurricane 2. The same situation. You got a boundary to the north. You got the jet paralleling it. And you would think it would create shear, but then the storm would use an angle of that jet to rapidly intensify. My biggest concern is that if it doesn't do if it doesn't do symmetry, right? If it doesn't become a lot more circular, my worry is that because you got all that dry air up north, you're having a boundary with 70 dew points. I wonder what the right side of the system with a jet stream is going to do if you have that storm relative helicity all over.
Yeah, Brendan,
that's my biggest concern.
Yeah. Brendan, what are your thoughts on that very quickly?
Well, I tend to agree. I think once it does make landfall, we're going to see it weaken pretty rapidly. However, I would argue that because a lot of that boundary you're referring to is still displaced further inland, that we won't see that weakening until it actually makes landfall. Now, to your point about the shaping and the symmetry of the storm, I think I'd actually argue the glass half full approach. We're seeing a tightening of the center right now as we speak. I actually expect the act of symmetry and it to be more symmetrical within the next 12 to 24 hours. I don't think that really will be an issue. Again, I think both of us, and you have a good point, by the way, with regards to everything we talked about with shear. I'm certainly not crapping on that, for lack of a better term.
All right.
But I am saying that it still has plenty of runway here prior to landfall. Now, I will agree, once it does make landfall, we will see it weaken. But
land interaction and loss of theta E.
Land interaction,
I apologize.
But I think that
for the tornado,
the ramp up will be good.
Not for the week.
What's up?
I confused it.
Okay. Go ahead, Brendan.
No, that's okay. No, but I still think your points are valid. They're not not valid at all. They are.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, again, it's going to have plenty of room to RI, and that shouldn't be an issue, especially at the initial landfall.
Yeah. All right, Brendan, I wanted to ask you something that Kaiser brought up earlier. Kaiser was talking about how there's a bit of a cap underneath Francine. We both live in the Midwest, and we know what a cap is. It's basically that stable air underneath all that cape under that cape. I want your thoughts on what Kaiser was referring to in terms of of there being a cap that's kind of been, at least for the most part, holding off Francine for at least this amount of time.
Are you referring to what's being observed right now? I'm kind of confused as to...
Yeah, Kaiser, Kaiser, if you want to explain it to him, go right ahead.
Last several hours, I don't remember exactly when Francine started to have its convection pretty much just die down from earlier this morning and just take on the more skeletal structure it's had. And it's mostly been the result of a cap that formed over the storm.
Are you talking about recently, within the last several hours, or initially this morning?
Last several hours, yeah.
Okay.
This morning was a lot more vigorous effectively.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I definitely, and I want to make sure the timing is correct, because if we look this morning, we had incredibly robust convection. So that certainly was not the case. Very deep convection. Probably some of the deepest that I've seen this year in the Gulf, minus barrel.
Yeah.
So it was very healthy.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the inversion, yes, to Pat's point, for those of you that are watching, these cap inversions, remember, are warm layers aloft, just not even very shallow, in this case, just slightly above the surface, that creates stability, right? And so we are seeing that right now. We're not seeing a large plume of convection with this thing. And I think it also, you can make the argument that it's helping to establish what will eventually be an eye, because it essentially dries out that center and makes it a little bit more stable. So I expect that to be rather temporary. I think by the time we get to tomorrow, when we ramp back up our diurnal heating, I would think that a lot of that's going to be pretty much mute at that point. I think it's just a temporary thing right now.
Yeah.
I would argue it maybe in the next 6 hours it'll look a lot more different
Sure.
than it is now, as that cap is starting to break. The next 6 hours it should effectively be a lot more robust.
I'm a lot more conservative with my prediction, because again, I'm going off of diurnal heating cycles. But I would still say that yes, my point still stands that it's going to be rather short term with this inversion. It's not going to be something that really hinders its progression.
All right. Kaiser? Did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I'm watching radar right now, and I'm noticing how the quartz, compared to this morning, it's relatively a lot bigger, and it's starting to become a little bit more well defined on radar as those new towers slowly get themselves going.
Yeah, I just saw that too.
I would like to mention to the this is not just for the coast. If you are even in, and I'm gonna say this because this is what the Storm Prediction Center has said. I'm gonna mention what they said. From the Gulf Coast all the way to the Tennessee Valley, and potentially the Southern Appalachians and Carolinas, because the steering currents do kind of collapse a little bit with the remnants later this weekend. This system could have multiple days of slight to enhanced risk depending on the jet. So we are definitely going to see a potential of, I'm going to call it a tornado outbreak sequence, but in tropical tornado terms, it's a little bit more tame because a lot of the tornadoes are.
Yeah.
But we could, in theory, see a tornado outbreak sequence depending on the evolution. I do think we're going to have one enhanced day with the way the jet interacts with the system. We just don't know when, and that's all about the evolution.
That's something we're going to have to watch the next couple of days, though, as well.
And of course, I'm not going to be right, but in September is the month of tropical tornadoes. It's the month where the jet stream and some dry air from the southwest and all that collides perfectly and is capable of producing these tornado outbreaks. Beryl was an example of a sort of a September-like atmosphere. That was a lot in terms of its mesoscale look.
Yeah.
And Ivan's one, Francis's one, they all had a dry air. They all had a trough or jet. They all had all that. So what I'm basically saying is that even if a tornado doesn't happen, even if we're wrong and not a lot of tornadoes occur, just pay attention to the tornado watches a little more closely this year in terms of tropics, because after what happened with Beryl, we don't want to risk underestimating.
We definitely don't want to
underestimate
that for sure. Weather Kingdom, I want your take on kind of how I want your kind of take on just. You heard what Brendan said about this system. Ultimately, it's going to rapidly intensify. It's going to have a much better look in the next few hours. What's your take on the evolution of this system now that you're seeing all these hot towers firing up closer to the center of circulation, even a little bit towards the northwest of it?
I completely agree that. Because I've been hearing about a lot of other people talk about rapid intensification, and especially David Salthauer. And
Yeah.
he had a good point on saying that usually with this type of structure, it will take about 6 to 12 hours before the worst rapid intensification. I do think we are on the cusp of rapid intensification. All we need is some very deep convection wrapping around in that core. One more round, and I think this is off for the races. I wasn't really expecting a cap to happen, so that was kind of more on a surprise of me. I guess I did miss that feature today.
That was on not on my bingo card either.
Yeah, because as of earlier, this thing looked like there was no. It's not going to be capped and everything. So in the short term, it's good news. And another thing with each, I forgot what's his name, but with the tornadoes, he's completely right about it.
Tristan,
Tristan, that contains all these this structure. This is a very prime structure, especially interacting with the jet and all that for a lot more tornadoes in tropical systems than usual. And I do think we will see a enhanced risk at least one of those days. Maybe not right away once it makes landfall, maybe a day after or two. Like you said, this was going to slow down.
Yeah.
So I definitely see that. Right. And I do think in the next few hours, we're going to see a lot more hot towers because you notice we had 1 and then 2, and now I'm starting to see a third one develop. So it's a slowly, gradually going past its top. And I do think once we see that consistent convection, once again, this is all for the races, and we are going to be looking at rapid intensification.
All right, Kaiser, I want your opinion on this. Are we on the cusp of rapid intensification?
Potentially. It just depends what it does next 24 hours.
All right.
By morning, we should have a decent idea. We do have recon in the storm, and they did find it's still deepening. Not terribly quickly, but it's deepening at a decent rate.
Okay. Whoa! Hold up! I just got this. They found an extrapolated pressure of 989 in there. No drop yet.
Is that the NOAA aircraft?
That is mission 5. So
the pressure is dropping decent without its right side being fit. That is what's making me concerned.
Yeah.
Once that convection really hugs the core
now,
and it interacts with the jet at the same
Now, of course, we all know this is just extrapolated pressure, and
especially on NOAA.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we need to wait for the drop, but that is a bit interesting because where we're at right now is we're at 992 according to what we were looking at before, and if this verifies and we get the drop, it's going to be interesting. I am a little curious to see how the winds catch up, but
I noticed that.
Yeah, if this system keeps deepening and we see that cap finally break, hell, it might even
the winds will.
The winds are inevitably going to have to catch up at some point. We don't know when.
And I would like to remind the viewers that again, this is kind of a pick of poison. Let's just do a scenario where this ends up becoming a barrel, and all the jet does is strengthen it a little bit, and the dry air can interact with it. All you're going to do is make the system a trade-off. What would you rather have? More training for flash flooding in a tornado outbreak, or a storm that rapidly intensifies? This is, again, another pick your poison, like you said with barrel. Do you want rapid intensification, or do you want a tornado outbreak and flood?
Yeah, what I'll say about the pick your poison stuff, especially with your point of flooding, I have this pulled up. Lake Charles looks like it's going to have a bad day with the flooding. 4 to 6 inches of rain
they
expected.
Don't need it either.
Yeah, Brownsville is already under is already getting a lot of rain from all of this. So they're expected to get 4 to 6 inches of rain as well. It's, it's not as bad as we've seen other systems, but
yes.
Yeah.
And something else to bring up is that I heard New Orleans in and some have lose a decent amount of Louisiana ended up dealing with the frontal system at Invest 90L well. There's a reason why there's not a high risk of flooding. There are multiple situations. On the one hand, when you have a jet and a bunch of lift, you have a tropical system with 70 dew points, you would normally think that's a big flooding problem, and it can be. And I do expect a local high risk. Don't get me wrong. I do expect one, maybe at least for New Orleans with the way they are.
For sure.
Because they're in the moderate. But on the other hand, the system is not just going to stall on you, right? It's actually going to move, potentially, with the jet.
Yeah.
And not only that, but if it's a more smaller system and it's moving faster, that technically means you get less rainfall. Yeah, it's a trade for wind, but flooding kills the majority of the people in tropical cyclones.
Yeah. All right, Kaiser, you looks like you
pick your poison because...
Yeah. All right, Kaiser, you looked like you wanted to butt in. Go ahead.
I just want to discuss the track real quick because I've seen the chat talking about it real quick.
Oh,
so the thing is
let's take a look at
Francine right now, we have a rough idea where it's going to go, and that's Louisiana. It depends on how strong it gets, because typically with rapidly intensifying tropical cyclones, they will lean a bit more to the east than your average intensifying tropical cyclone.
Yeah.
That's why the track has went from being almost straight into Houston to having shifted east, because now models expect a stronger storm.
Yeah.
You have a good idea of where it is going once this begins to rapidly intensify, because models will compensate for the eastward shift.
Yeah.
You'll have a decent idea. And it's going to be somewhere between the border and the little boot Louisiana has, for lack of a better word.
For sure.
I will say, though, this is not going to be a situation where and I'm going to point this out because you have the jet right next to the system. This is not going to be one of those where it suddenly just moves east out of the blue. It's going to be more.
It's going to take its time for sure, but Kaiser has the right idea.
In the direction, because it's aligned with a jet. And it gets captured by the jet even. So it won't move. Normally, when we talk about rapid intensification, they like to move east a lot more. But in this case, it feels more northeast because it's going to be aligned with that jet. So it's not going to be able to escape it.
All right.
May I say something?
Sure. Go ahead.
It's more about the hurricane models with how they evolved today with all the new data. I have noticed on the hurricane models, they are a lot more in the upper category 2 to that low end 3. But one thing I'm noticing too is that weakening before landfall has kind of, with the storm moving a little bit more faster, like on the HERF, it has it as a 966 off the coast and makes landfall as a 966. So, and that's the strongest it does get. So if you look back at a few runs ago, it had it weakening, I would say, a bit before landfall, but I've noticed with the new data coming in that's not going to happen.
Weather Kingdom, there was another system we saw that same day. System that was Hurricane Zeta of 2020 because it was interacting with a jet. So that's why when models were weakening it before and I saw the jet stream, I didn't agree with it. And now we're starting to see the models actually say, oh, well, it has a little bit of brown ocean effect. There's a little bit of marshes, and then you have a jet. Is it really going to weaken? And one more thing I'm noticing with the models, every single model has something that is scaring me.
All right.
Tons of tropical, mature supercells.
Yeah, I saw that as well. All right, who else wanted to butt in?
On this right flank.
Who else wanted to say something?
All right. You guys can continue.
All right. Are you guys done?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Sure.
So whenever you looked at the models, if you do,
all right.
Yeah, let me know.
All right. All right, Kaiser, did you want to go ahead and jump in?
Yeah, so I'm seeing people in chat talking about the rapid intensification, essentially that. So I just want to mention with jet interaction storms, you can get generally when it should begin to rapidly intensify, and that's usually when the interaction begins, as that divergence aloft starts to allow the storm to intensify.
Right.
Alongside its outflow, the opening forward outflow, which pretty much allows the storm to intensify further. This will probably not weaken before landfall unless it peaks offshore. The general action begins to have its negative effects a lot sooner than the models are showing. But usually, with general action, they usually landfall around peak intensity because it's usually a landfall into peak.
Yeah.
Cases where this wasn't, case are Ian, 2022, Opal, 1995. They're both pretty notable examples of a general action that peaked offshore and weakened somewhat, sometimes significantly, prior to coming onshore.
Zeta was a perfect example also of that, Kaiser. You know how much wind damage it did? A lot of areas in Alabama and Mississippi got a normal amount of tree damage and power line damage. And if this interacts with the jet stream, all I'm going to say is that jet is going to help the lower level fields, which means that even if this turns as tropical, it's going to have the same impact as a tropical storm. It's going to do a lot of tree and power line damage, especially with saturated soil.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure you are ready. If you are in the track of Francine, basically until it gets, I will say it to the Midwest respectfully due to the jet stream, be ready just in case your power goes out. This is going to be one of those systems which has a combo of multiple things. It will feel a little more powerful than it should.
Yeah. Definitely.
I agree.
All right.
I can speak from experience. Remain weather aware. Keep an eye on the storms next few days. Even if it seems to miss you, may feel some of its effects from the outer bands, if any, develop on its eastern side during the general action. It just depends. Additionally, don't focus on the wind. Never focus on the wind threat. That is not the biggest threat. It's always the storm surge, it's always the water, and we're potentially going to have up to 10 feet max. It might be higher, it might be lower. It depends.
All right.
From Louisiana border with Texas to the boot up into the Tennessee Valley, just stay weather aware in general.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the storm. Monitor its progress. Check with the Storm Prediction Center, the news.
Definitely.
Just stay on top of it. If you're being forecasted to feel effects, prepare now. It's better to be prepared now than later. I can speak from experience. Just a few months ago, when Ernesto came through Puerto Rico, I was not expecting the impacts that did happen. It was pretty miserable in the aftermath. So, if you lose power and get that generator up as soon as it's safe. Just keep it outside. Avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. All that. That's pretty frequent in the aftermath of these storms. Avoid flooded roads, dirty water, all of that. Just stay safe and just ride it out.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to go ahead and pivot a little bit and ask you about the conditions ahead. This is for everybody because what I'm noticing is where this is going is it's going to be entering a very conducive eddy, which is off the coast of Texas near Brownsville. What do you guys think?
Show it?
Yeah, it's on the ocean heat content map right here.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, what do you guys think is going to happen? And my main concern here is if this breaks the cap and it has plenty of time to do that while it's over the eddy, what could we see while it's over that? Because that's well over 175 OHC in there.
I don't like using this word a lot. It could potentially bomb out, and essentially, it's just rapidly intensifying. It'll probably be a hurricane in a couple hours, though. Right now, it did seem to sort of weaken based off recon from earlier.
Yeah.
But it's going to probably rapidly intensify once it hits those waters. And in general, the entire Gulf of Mexico, it is piping hot. This water has not been tapped in several months.
Since Beryl.
Yep.
Yeah, and even then, it didn't really take away a lot of that heat from the water. But this is untapped water, meaning it's the perfect storm of bad conditions just coming. Perfect storm of great conditions for the storm coming together at the worst possible moment.
Yep.
And regardless if 90L, if that previous disturbance formed or not, what is now Francine would have still been a potent system. And we've been watching Francine from its trick in Africa all the way into the Gulf for the last week or so now. It was supposed to form in the open Atlantic, then the Caribbean, and then finally Bay Campeche holds itself together with that BOC magic that we tend to get from the curve line shape.
Yep.
Coastline shape.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm gonna
go ahead, Weather Kingdom.
With speaking on the eddy, and I think this is a very important thing. If this starts rapid intensification as it's entering in the eddy, I do think we're gonna see a alarming rate of rapid intensification, and I will probably give it a 6 to 12 hour period for it to happen before it pretty much bottoms out. Maybe strengthens slowly as it makes a landfall, or it might stay the strength or start weakening. But I think if this is going to rapidly intensify and become a category 2 or a higher, it's going to be tomorrow morning as this is entering that eddy. And if this is already looking like it did this morning, we got some very big issues tomorrow to watch out for.
Yeah, one thing I will say is this system is expected to hover over this eddy for the next, I say it, potentially 24 hours if it enters in there, and then it starts to move towards Louisiana. Now granted, upwelling does happen, but this water where it's going is so deep, it has such a lot in the bank, so much heat in the bank. It's absolutely unbelievable with how things are going. So, yeah.
And I don't think upwelling is going to occur. Not only is the water very deep, but eventually the jet is going to catch it, and it's going to do. The thing about weakening before landfall, unless it's on the jet itself and it's sheared to pieces, I think that a lot of the time jet interactions can actually help it continue some sort of rapidification. It doesn't have to be the full might of it, but normally jet interaction does help either sustain or strengthen a bit more, especially since all you really need for a tropical cycle is 20 Celsius water containment, and a jet can allow those stronger winds, even if the pressure is a little high, for example. It can allow those winds to go to the surface. We saw that also in hurricane data again. I know I keep mentioning that storm. That's a perfect example of what it can do. And with the way it's angling a bit, it seems like that.
Yeah.
So I will say this. I don't expect landfall. In fact, what may occur, where it says, I'm assuming, what may happen is that after it stays to the eddy, the jet is going to make it prevent itself from upwelling. What that's going to do, it's also because of the way it's going to create outflow with the warm water, is that because it's faster, it might strengthen it a bit more, continuing slower rate of rapid.
Yeah.
That is my biggest concern with this system. But it has to be timed and angled right.
Yep.
That's the one thing about this system, is it doesn't have time. You may be thinking, oh, it has a lot of time in the world. It literally only has maybe 48 hours if you look at the NHC.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that eddy and then the way it interacts with the jet will be its main feature of intensification once this cap breaks.
For sure. I'm watching this right now. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
When you have a chance, can you look at the other aircraft? They did find about 65 miles an hour on the southwestern side.
Yes, they did. Looks like
just wanted to
flight
let
level
you know
winds
that.
of about 55 knots in there. SFMR readings.
I mean, northwestern side, my bad.
Yeah, northwestern
side.
Yeah, that's where that convective burst is firing up over there as well, which is pretty interesting.
So, yes. So, speaking on that with the winds that we were talking about before of it catching up, basically, that's just a prime example is where they found those 65 miles an hour winds was where that convection is currently exploding at right now. So
Yeah.
once we do see this core have that rapid period of convection, I think the winds will easily catch up with it. And I think, once again, we are right on the cusp of rapid intensification in the next 6 hours, I would say.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Also noticing that convection that was firing up with those hot towers is finally starting to wrap around, and we are getting a few more areas. They're very small and isolated, but we are getting a couple more convective bursts on the southwestern and northeastern side of the eye. I'm not
Yes,
sure.
I have
What's
noticed
really
that.
concerning is that
That's
that
concerning.
right side is keeping the bands that are by themselves in between that gap. That's
Yeah.
concerning.
Yeah.
Hello,
Definitely.
guys.
Oh, my cat's
Hello.
meowing.
Oh, who just joined?
Oh, I've been
Oh,
here.
my
I'm
cat.
just
Oh, hey, Savi. How are you
coming
doing?
good. Just watching the storm very closely.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on all this, hearing everything you've been hearing tonight?
I think it's on the cusp of rapid intensification. I have to agree
Yeah.
because, based
that's what
on all what's been going on, what y'all summarized, I agree. It's on the cusp of rapid intensification.
Yep. Okay. Apparently hurricane hunters are investigating something going on in that giant band over there. It's kind of interesting. Then you have
that band is just trying to.
Yeah, that's incredible how that band is
It's
still
just
sustaining
north of-
itself.
It's actually just north of the boundary, so there is still a tiny bit of boundary fraction.
Yeah.
And I can show this perfect.
Yeah.
This is a little bit late analysis, but on the live known by weather prediction analysis, it should be 00Z, but it didn't update yet. You can
I
see
see
a
the
little bit
Weather
of that
Prediction Center. Yep.
southwestern, the southwestern part of the boundary is interacting potentially with the very northeastern side.
Yeah, that stationary
with the
boundary
system.
interacting with Francine.
Yeah, so that's why that area has a ton of convection, while the rest of the system is still being a little bit capped right now.
Oh.
Because that's the area with most lift at this time.
So that's kind of an area of forcing.
Yes.
That's a little bit concerning.
That's interesting.
That's concerning for flash flooding.
For flash flooding. That's but that's interesting though.
That means as the core moves that direction, it should interact with it, and the convection should
No,
on
it shouldn't. If it does, then
Boundary
it
is
doesn't.
gonna
It's
lift
not
north
tropical.
slowly. But what it will do is, with all that moisture, it will definitely lead some really heavy rainfall rates on the northern side. Oh, definitely. The question is, how fast does it move, and does it train over New Orleans? I'm saying that area specifically. I've been reading a lot of the data coming from the Weather Prediction Center, Louisiana. On one hand, you got a little bit of drought left runoff. On the other hand, of course, you have the draining system. What if it trains on the track in the wrong spot? But then you also have, it's been a bit of a dry spell too. But then you have a boundary with it. You see the confusion on where to put that high risk of flooding, because there's so many little quirks in the forecast that you got to balance out with. But I do think a local high risk of flooding will happen. I do think so. It's just a matter of what's the evolution of the thing and how fast does it move with the jet.
Most definitely. All right. Be sure to like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It really helps us out, gets more people engaged with weather. We're going to be covering Francine for quite a while tonight, as we are seeing more and more things starting to add up. And I'm also while I'm talking about this huge burst of convection, I'm also noticing that gap of dry air between the core and where that dry slot is starting to close in a little bit. That's interesting, and the reason I'm looking at this too is because I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out, and I'm curious to see how the 3D image of this is going to pan out as well, because these are just cloud tops right here. Those cloud tops and combined over here, combined with what's going on in the core, I'm sure a lot of people are going to think, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, these are merging together now. Things are going off." But I'm waiting.
Wait, what?
Yeah, if you guys are watching this real quickly, I can show you this right here. We're noticing that dry slot finally closing in a bit more. Not sure if you saw it.
I will say there's something concerning about that side with a lot of the convection. That is the northeastern side. I bet you there's some nice water spouts going on in that bad. The fact that that's already convectively enabled by the boundary, and this system's about to rapidly intensify, and then you're going to have a jet with 70 dew points. I wonder how good those updrafts are going to be at landfall. I am actually concerned.
Yep.
But does this do an Ian thing where the boundary mutes it out with too much rainfall and prevents tornado potential? There's just so many questions. We have so little. It's really nerve-wracking. Every little piece of evolution.
Yeah, every small thing adds up eventually, one way or another. And it looks like one of those bursts of convection has added up quite a bit, as it's definitely building up strength for and continuing that burst of convection that's been wrapping around the core of the circulation. Taking a look at radar now. It's definitely something starting to fire up. Let me go ahead and show you guys this on stream very quickly. It's definitely that core definitely is trying to get its act together a bit more, but it's still a little clunky and it's still a little messy. What are your thoughts on that on radar?
Oh, I do see that. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely going to need to take some time to organize, but you're starting to see that core finally flaring back up.
Sacra, real quick, I do want to answer your question. The convection that is producing all those water spouts and stuff, it's technically not in the National Weather Service region. This is more into the center area of parts of the Gulf.
The Gulf.
That boundary.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they should definitely tabs on prepared to issue, especially if they.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm seeing how that northeastern convective tower is starting to act. It's not doing too much right now, but that southwestern one, that's also breaking the cap starting to as well. So we're gonna have to watch that.
Pat, I'm curious.
What?
I wonder if the radar goes that far out. Can you see that big convection burst of the boundary interact with it? I want to see if the radar can even pick up the highest clouds on that.
Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah, I can definitely.
Supercells over there.
Yeah, I can definitely adjust the tilt on that.
Oh please! Oh yeah, you can see it too. Look at that. Look, there's even little curls.
Yeah, you guys watching this on stream?
Which radar are you on? Corpus?
It's Brownsville.
We're looking at Brownsville.
Brownsville.
So for that being far away, Pat.
What?
They're getting reds. They're getting reds that far away from the radar on that boundary side.
Yeah, I saw.
I wonder what's going on down there.
Let's see. I'm gonna check tilt 2 as well, because that goes up a little bit. Yeah, these clouds definitely go up quite a bit.
Ooh, velocity? I'm curious if they spot anything.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the velocity for you very quickly. Velocity.
You're gonna go ahead and take a look.
Yeah, I'm looking at velocity. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on the eastern side of it, but not so much on the western, mainly because of the angle. Northeastern. Side? Yeah.
Where that big convection is? Look
yeah,
at
where that
little rotation. You can see like broad little rotations. Oh, they're definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Just looking for what's up.
So they're definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some rotation in that boundary. Fine.
All right.
Rotation. That is cool that we can see that far away.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Our technology.
Yeah, that's incredible right there. It's all at the same time as well. It's also concerning to watch as well, because that's an indicator that this might be getting its act together, and it might be doing it right now. Again,
so Orbit asked in the chat, we wake up categories. Okay, maybe not cat 2, but definitely.
Yeah,
I
Cat
think
2 is.
definitely a cat 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Cat
If
1.
it turned cat 2 tomorrow and it interacts with Jet tomorrow, I would be scared to find out what's the final answer.
Oh, yeah.
If it did that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But, yeah. Thanks for the question, real quickly.
Real quick, I want to ask y'all a question. What do you think the NEC is going to go next advisory? I think 105 is.
I see that as a
5 miles.
I see that as
Yeah.
a possibility.
Are you saying?
Go ahead.
Or do you think they'll stay 100 because the system kind of had a small little hiccup?
Oh, you mean?
The max intensity for Landfall.
Oh, I thought you were about to say like 105 net advisory for Francine right now. I'm like,
no.
okay.
105 miles an hour,
That
90 knots.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm definitely thinking maybe 105 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe
I think-
110 if they. Maybe
I
110
should
if they
say
make- They could go 110 depending on if they think Jet's actually going to help it. I think.
Yeah. When I'm looking, the way I'm looking at this right now, I think 105 or 100 is fine with me personally. This is one of those scenarios, at least for tonight, that the NHC is going to have to make the call, and whatever they decide to do, it's their choice. That's how I'm going to roll with that, because
I do think it will. I do think it will stay a tropical now.
I agree.
Right side has to somewhat get together. But
I
the moment that
absolutely
cat
agree.
breaks, I expect cloud heaven
Yeah.
for it, not for us.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. This is going to stay a tropical storm. They're going to hold at 65. That's what I'm going to say.
I say 70 because the core kind of got a little impact.
Has some flair to it.
I can say 70. If recon
65 probably, but I won't be surprised.
Yeah. The reason I say they're going to hold at 65 is because mainly because mainly because I haven't really seen any evidence yet of 70 miles per hour near the core. It has pressure's dropped, don't get me wrong, but the winds haven't caught up yet. So I'm not surprised the NHC holds at 65. That's my personal opinion. In that regard. Yeah.
This system, this is going to be one of those systems people are going to potentially be. I don't.
Yeah. Definitely. Someone requested I take a look at some of the hurricane models, which I will say what we
scared.
We do have is the 18Z, which this initialized at 1 p.m. What was the pressure at 1 p.m.? 996. Taking a look at the archive. The reason I'm looking at this is because of 996. The reason I'm looking at that is because of how it initialized. The H-Wharf initialized its 18Z run pretty well, I will say. And looking at this right now, pretty much by 10 p.m. it wants it at 992. And if we take a look at the Typhoon Warning Center run right here, it's at 992. According to this right here. The pressure's been dropping. At least the
JTWC run.
Yeah, the DAPIA satellite has the estimate 992, which is interesting.
I would like to say I don't like how every single model. And I know normally, but we saw this during Barrel too, and it really caught alarm bells. Was every single model I've seen keeps that theme of not only decent anticipation, but those supercells even have curls to them in some cases.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll go enhance for tornado.
Probably not till day one, to be honest.
Not yet by day one. It's going to be a day one situation.
But yeah, I'm looking at.
Good thing you're pulling up the WRF because someone literally said, "Also check the H because it's rising."
Yeah.
Look at the
962
way-
millibar at landfall. Nothing.
Look at the way those bands just split apart in eastern Louisiana.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Let's see. H Wharf.
That's not okay. That's
Just out of curiosity, I want to see what the H-Mon is doing. Okay, yeah, the H-Mon the H-Mon, funny enough, is the more aggressive out of them, and they didn't initialize it. They actually did initialize it well, but it wanted it down to 988, but not down to 986 by 10 p.m. Unless the Hurricane Hunters find something completely unexpected, and unless we see, let me take a look at this right here, and unless we see
wait, Pat.
What?
I'm curious.
Richmond wants it down to 958 and
What?
make landfall in 964.
The H-Mon?
Richmond. This is as of 18Z September 9th.
Sure.
They want it at 958 and
What?
I'm just curious. Can you check the radar evolution of it? Curious if it shows the same
Yeah, I
stage.
got you.
let me actually.
I got it. Right
I mean,
here.
for the
Sakura can...
Oh, look
Right.
at that northern side, Pat. That is.
Whoa.
Look at all those
Wow.
superstars. I'll display the whole thing. I want to see the evolution of that northern side. It's interacting with the boundary. Look at that. That's look. What was that near New Orleans? So, there's a certain frame that
Is this
should
it?
shock you there.
Let me
Okay,
take...
go a little more.
let me-
That one. Wow.
Wow, that does look.
That's tornadic if I ever seen it ever. That's a very, and considering that we have a jet, this is not impossible. Oh,
Yeah, that's interesting.
are
right
all
there.
of them showing supercells like that?
Let's take a look. What the heck? No. Why did I do that? H-Wharf is showing something, is not nearly as the scale as the H-Mon. Halves A, the Halves A is even more supercellular. Whoa.
That's
Wow. That's actually more of a jumbled mess. I think you have to go a few more frames.
Tell
That's
that to the Halves
interesting. Is
B.
that B? I'm curious. Supercellular again, but a little bit more in the Alabama, Mississippi.
Yep.
Interesting. They're all depicting some type of date of supercell frame. That's
Yeah.
not good. They all agree.
They definitely are. Good lord.
Not liking the mesoscale satellite, the one there.
That's why I was thinking they'll go in hand for day one of these models. Really
Okay.
are agreeing.
It's really starting
Yeah,
to
I have
look
a
Orbit,
like-
I
question.
saw that
Did
they-
H-
Yeah, Orbit, I saw Mission 5 got found at 989 millibar. I'm waiting for the drop cent on that before I
have
say
a
anything.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the HRRR do the same thing? I'm just kidding.
The her?
HRRR model, what do you do?
Oh,
The HRRR does the same thing as the other tropical models. What? It has the supercells almost aligned with the tropical model.
this is the 0Z. I'll go back to the 18Z. Just yeah,
Yes,
that's the 18Z. 0Z her.
interesting.
Yeah, it looks like
Oh my, wow.
So the fact that the Hurricane models and the HRRR are agreeing on supercells on the right side like that,
that's a problem.
HRRR is better than y'all think.
That's a huge
Hey,
problem.
So,
What's up? What's up,
Should we
brother?
check other models just to make sure we're not?
Do you want me to
Can-
check other
I'm gonna check
meso
the
models?
dam for curiosity.
What's
just
up,
for
Weather
jokes.
Kingdom? First of all,
as we were looking at the models, why not let's take a look at the rainfall totals and go pretty in depth with the rainfall totals because I'm pretty sure people are curious on the rainfall total.
oh yeah, let's go ahead
And like
take
the
a look at
impacts
this.
as we're on the models.
I will
But
do a-
yeah.
Go
Here-
ahead.
this is the NHC's official forecast, but we can also pull up some other models as well.
Uh-huh.
I know the
Okay.
Weather Prediction Center does 4 to 8 inches with 10 localized right now for the unknowns of the speed.
Yeah,
I know they do that.
Can I say something
Sure.
quickly? If you look at that minute cast, I'm not liking what I'm starting to see on that northern that side that you were talking about with it closing, because I'm noticing more little hot towers developing on all quadrants now.
On the latest frame?
Yeah, if you re-update it.
Yeah. Oh, I saw. Oh, that's a problem.
Teaser warning.
Yeah, I have the
Teaser
thing right
warning.
here. Yeah, thank you.
But you see how it's really I'm starting to notice.
I'm seeing that as well. Hold on. Give me
That
a second.
curvature, yep.
Give me a second.
Not only the curvature, but do you see what the boundary convection is doing for the center? It's kind of giving it a link to its center. So it's trying to close it with the boundary. That's interesting. Ian did something. No, Ian mostly just had a boundary north of it.
I'm looking at that.
By the way,
that is our first true hot tower for tonight, right there, folks.
That is
hey, Pat.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you have a chance, can you just send that in VC?
Because
I'm using tropical tibbets. Yeah, because I'm using tropical tibbets. And I think actually that one's ahead of tropical tibbets right now.
Look at.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even see it that bad.
There's no question about it.
It's closed. There's a little eye.
Oh yeah, that's easily ahead. Yeah.
No, if you use Minicast, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm using the minutes.
I was using Minicast on that.
You can see how it actually has a little eye. That might be the evolution. That might not be the eye. Completely dead. But it looks like it has a little. It looks like it completely closed. You can see the green almost wrapping around the little center.
Yeah, I'm looking at radar too. It definitely that burst definitely reciprocates on radar as well.
Just send me the link when you have a chance.
To what?
Oh,
this?
Yeah, that.
All right. Go ahead and send that to you.
NVC. All right.
Someone said HRRR should not be looked at for tropical cyclones. But when the HRRR is agreeing with the other tropical models, that's And I use HRRR for barrel too. It got it right.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it looks like another burst is firing up, trying to continue in the northwestern side, outside of the core as well. So we're looking at that cap is definitely starting to bend, if not break. Right.
Someone asked, can they show the steering current? I already got a few pictures of the jet stream.
Yeah.
On the live note mic, if y'all saw it.
Yeah, here's what we were looking at 48 hours out. I'll go ahead and get the 24 hours.
Like a prediction center service analysis forecast.
Yeah, Tracy, if you want to go ahead and talk about, go ahead.
Yes, so the jet stream angle is going to be an interesting one, first of all. That is one of the keys to this storm, strengthening or getting sheared apart. So let's see this. So we had multiple, there it is, it's on the left. So here's the 48 hours. The jet stream does move a little bit north because of the system moving in. And if we can do that in 24 hours, you can see the jet is like that right now. I think the weather prediction center would actually be better for this, but this is going to confuse me too. But I know the jet is helping the system strengthen. We can see
it's helping it consolidate.
48 to 72 hours, yes, and it interacts with the system and pulls it to.
Yeah, I see it as well.
I believe it pulls it to the north. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me.
All right.
I don't look at the jet stream that often.
But regardless of that, but yeah, Weather Kingdom, like to your point, we have our first true hot towers of tonight. We have our first true ones. One of them's on the southwestern side. Another one is northwestern outside of the core. And
yeah, I noticed that, and that could be the beginning of that two tower rapid intensification.
Yep.
At least the beginning stages.
Yeah,
of it. You could tell how they're both getting closer and closer to each other, and once you see that, then you know this is just gonna easily start wrapping up. You notice that?
Yeah, I'm noticing that as well. The one on the northwest, I'm going to have to pay attention to that. The one I'm most concerned about is the one just in the core on the southwestern side, because it's starting to really ramp up.
Yeah, I agree.
I really wish I really wish Kaiser was back here because I wanted to ask him what his thoughts on if the cap was breaking or not. But that cap is definitely bending, if not breaking right now.
I
And
think
that's
this will start.
Yep. Me too.
Oh, I'm not liking that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this will start rapidly intensifying in the next few hours, at least.
Well, that burst of convection definitely confirms that theory. Wow.
Especially near the core. And remember, the satellite, aircraft, they found those strong winds in that burst of convection. So I'm curious what they're going to find in the eye wall. And speaking of it, they did find 50 knots here in one of the aircrafts in the northeastern side.
Yeah, I saw
of the
that
eye
as
wall.
well. Okay.
With a pressure. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm looking at this right now. I'm getting two separate extrapolated pressure readings. From Mission 6 in the eye, they found an extrapolated pressure of 992. In Mission 5, they're going back in. They're finding another extrapolated pressure of 989, but that is the NOAA aircraft. So we'll have to pay attention to that. But it is interesting, and they did put a dropsond in, and they did confirm the 992 reading, because it's 994 at the surface at 18 knots. Standard deduction is 10 knots for every millibar, so that's 992.2. So based on what we're looking at, this is going to be around 992 millibars at the 10 p.m. advisory, unless they sample the southwestern side. Which I really hope they do.
John's 9. Yeah, about 9.
What?
So I said 992, 990.
All right.
Maybe 990, but
Oh wow. Yeah.
What's up?
You should refresh that. We're starting to get purple in that explosion to that southern side.
We are.
I'm using, yeah. That is really not
are.
good.
Oh, yes, we are. And just a minute later as well.
Oh, I'm not liking that. Not at all right there.
I'm not liking any of this. Oh, yeah, that's, again, small things add up. And
because with it, you could tell the bands are wrapping, and that's wrapping around the core.
Oh, it's wrapping around the core, all right. Yeah, looking at that. Yeah, definitely that dry slot's gonna be it's gonna need to get mixed out, but it's kicking and screaming right now. And it looks like it might just win in the next few hours.
that's about as I could put it.
Yeah.
That is best.
Remember, this is not good because we still got the eddy that this has to enter into. So with it beginning to get that inner core back to what it was a bit earlier, then I could definitely see rapid intensification as it just enters the eddy. And that's just going to be making rapid intensification a whole lot worse.
All right, we have Daniel in the stream. Daniel, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
What are your thoughts on Francine? We are seeing more of bursting convection in the southwestern side.
Yeah, so I want to reiterate for everybody, just because all the convection disappeared on the south side doesn't mean this thing's over. It's still developing. There's no dry air on that side. It's just waiting for the correct moment to blast, and it seems like it's prepping to blast. One convection blast in the center will tell all. When that happens fully, I mean, we're seeing small ones. Does that expand into bigger ones?
Yep, the small stuff does add up eventually, though.
But what makes it a little more interesting is that a boundary is actually helping a lot of the convection on the north side. Once you get a nice convection burst on that northern side to really connect the storm, it might actually go a bit beyond explosive.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like It looks like Mission 6 is going into that southwestern side soon, so we'll get some data from that in the next couple of minutes. That'd be really good to see what pans out.
Yeah, if they get 60 knots on that southwestern side, then we have a winner.
Yes, we do.
Also, a fantastic thing to mention is this storm is still heading towards South Texas.
Yeah, I'm watching that as well, but it's expected to start turning in the next 12 hours towards Louisiana, and it's using the coastline to kind of help consolidate it as well.
Yeah, but the one bad thing is South Texas is prone to flooding even in the weak tropical storms.
They do have a slight risk of flooding right now for the Brownsville Metro.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you already know why I say that area in particular. It's a little close place to my heart.
Can I read this discussion? Because I'm very interested in what it is.
Okay, this is interesting.
Brownsville, aka Starbase, which is right on the coastline, right there.
Could I read this discussion real bit from the Weather Prediction Center for the rest of day one? This is a very interesting discussion that they have for the Brownsville.
Go ahead.
The northern part of the tropical feed is now tropical storm Francine has reached the farther southern tip of Texas, with the primary centers of impact remaining South Padre Island over to Brownsville. Rates currently are subpar to any flooding concerns, with the aerial average of 0.25 to 0.5, but the totals are starting to breach the 1 inch threshold over the course of the morning, given the persistence. This will continue for a few more hours before precip rates with more scattered into the rainfall for the evening. As Francine noses north-northwest, a deeper tropical moisture front will begin impacting the southern reaches of Texas once again. This time, a more robust convection footprint, leading to enhanced hourly rates and rapidly accumulating rainfall. The period of the greatest potential remains between 06 to 12Z Tuesday. A very end of the period leads to a small window for enhanced impact. 12Z HREF neighborhood, I likely pronounced that wrong, I apologize. Probability for 5 inches is sufficiently high, with a 70 to 90%, and the Brownsville area with slightly less props further west to Harrelton. Further west towards McAllen, the probabilities drop off significantly for any less appreciable accumulations greater than 3 inches, leading to a less of an opportunity for flash flooding concerns as you move west along the lower Rio Grande Valley. The signal is quite consistent with the latest cams for relatively high correlation and the potential given the higher EAS problem fields of all the 1, 2, 3 thresholds across the coastal southern Texas, and much less than given for any appreciable.
Okay, Tristan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have some breaking news.
Whoa.
Yeah, they found flight level winds of 55 plus knots on the eastern side of that core. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the convection that's exploding.
And they found extrapolated pressure around 989 once again. And
but this is exactly.
Yep, that's the moment we've been waiting for.
Is the convection.
Yep, those winds are finally starting to catch up. Those winds are finally starting to...
Hey, I think this is 70 miles an hour now.
Go ahead, Tristan.
No, we'll wait a little longer.
Yeah, let's wait a little longer, but they're finding something in there.
I was going to say for South Texas, that was it. So the Brownsville area is a very little area of flash flooding potential, but they said up to 5 inches of rain. It's definitely possible with it being the 70 to 90% percentile. So that's
Tristan, I want to tell you something that is a little concerning. Back in 2020, when Laura went
for a lack of
the middle of the Gulf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lack of better word, ape shit. Yeah. Hey, that's my first swear word. That's the only swear word you're getting tonight.
Yeah. When Laura went in the middle of the Gulf, the whole coast of South Padre was underwater when that thing was in the middle of the Gulf.
Oh.
Just put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about rainfall here, but there is a chance of It's very interesting how they do think it definitely there's a probability of 5 inches with 70 to 90% in the Brownsville area. Given the very local area of flooding potential. But I think we'll definitely might see some instances of flash flooding in the Brownsville metro later tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Potentially.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Tristan, Weather Kingdom, Daniel, that convection is... this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big one, and we're already seeing that convection starting to rotate around the southeastern side. This is going to be a big burst. Small stuff like that adds up. And
yeah, it might be forming beginning of...
I think to be honest, I think this nearing the 80 is helping it.
It's getting, I mean, right now where it's at, it's over an area of 125 OHC. So it's definitely doing well. So that's incredible.
Moving at its slow pace. Things so slow.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be moving slow for the next little while, which is concerning because of how much water and how deep those waters are. And the fact that I can confidently say, Weather Kingdom, the cap is busted. The cap is broke.
I
do respectfully want to wait for one more thing before I really do the alarm bells. I want to see if that northern convection along the boundary can close up the very little bit left of that one area of dry left. If it can do that very quickly, then it's a little bit of a alarm bell. Well, for now,
I'm talking about the convective burst in the southwestern quadrant.
Yeah, but what's really going to help the system is if you get some more convection connected with the center to that area of very big lift for that boundary in the storm interact.
Yeah, definitely. All right, be sure to like the stream, ladies and gentlemen, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us get more people engaged with weather. You've been an incredible audience tonight. Thank you very much as we continue talking about Francine as this approaches Texas and Louisiana. So,
Pat, I want
also
you
check out Storms United.
Yep. What's up, Daniel?
I want your thoughts on... So we already know that it's forecast to become a Cat 2. But what are your honest opinions on a potential Cat 3?
I'm giving it a 32% probability.
Wow, you're very specific on that number.
It was at 16% earlier. So, yeah.
I'm giving it a 50-50.
The layout of this storm reminds me of Zeta of 20.
Of course it
that
does.
Interact with a certain area.
Why does it always go back to 2020?
Because there were so many storms.
Zeta was a really good example. But Zeta was a really good example of what a jet to help a hurricane. So I do think that this has a 50 shot of 100. I would say a 50-50 shot of 115 miles an hour. Only 115. I'm not going to go any higher until we see the storm tomorrow.
Yeah.
I want to be very careful because these little things can add up or it might mess up the storm. We don't know.
Hey guys, look at the last couple of frames. It looks like some dry air potentially on satellite got into the eye. And looking on radar definitely is not the case. What are your thoughts on that?
I doubt that. It's so moist in that area. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting on satellite.
It lost its convection.
Yeah. Is the eye trying to pop out, or is that dry air? That's the main question I have with that.
It might be forming, you know,
it might be both. It might be getting that little tiny bit of dry air left at the very lower level while clearing the top.
Yeah.
I mean, a little dry air clearing out the eye is not unheard of.
No, I mean around the sides of the eye.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't need to be. I think it needs to clear the eye.
Sometimes actually that can help a storm.
I know it did with Laura in 2020.
Oh.
Of course.
Of course, it's another 2020 storm.
By the
This
way,
storm has a concerning look. I think it's trying to form something. We gotta watch it.
speaking of lore, this storm is making oddly similar place of landfall.
Yeah. What I will say is, I think at least in a mesoscale at least in mesoscale terms, at least where the southern side of the eye wall is, I think the cap's already started to break there, based on recent satellite imagery, and we just need to see if that's going to be kind of joined up with the northern side, or if it's going to be this one big burst that wraps around the entire eye. So that's something to watch, but yeah. Our Weather Kingdom, what are your thoughts on these latest frames?
My latest thoughts are definitely developing.
By the way, for anybody in this call right now, look in No Mic Live. I posted one of the webcams that you can look at.
All right.
Pat, you can't show it on screen.
I'm not going to do that because of copyright issues, but
definitely with this one because it's a Lab Padre.
Someone asked, could this be the sign that the Atlantic is waking up? There's conflicting points on this. On the one hand, what a lot of people don't realize is that Cape Verde might have a late peak because of the way the waves were at first going to Sahara. So I actually think if the MJO forecast is right and the Atlantic can be a little more favorable, we might have a unnormal October Cape Verde moment. And we have the gyre. Sure. That would be the biggest two concerns. My biggest concern for the Atlantic right now is actually not Cape Verde, because we don't truly know respectfully. My area of watch, I think, for the rest of the year, unless something out of Cape Verde heads towards us, would likely be area between Jamaica, the Yucatan Peninsula, and Cuba, and homegrown storms in the Gulf of Mexico or off the coast of the Carolinas with fronts. I think we need to pay attention there, unless we see a really good, or in a case, a really bad Cape Verde signal later on. But for now, I would focus on the Central American gyre popping up later.
What's up, Daniel?
The convection is spreading more southward now, and we just have a new flare. Yep.
We have a new flare.
Where?
Well, I'm talking about that big blast right there that we've been watching. Now it's more flaring up.
Oh yeah, I noticed it's. I know as well.
Yeah.
There's also this other area of convection to the northwest of the core in the dry slot. What are your thoughts on that, Daniel? Do you think that's going to do much?
I mean, I think that's just part of the banding here.
Sure.
I mean, we obviously have the ginormous convection towards the north in that right-hand quadrant.
Yeah.
I do wonder since South Texas in the Brownsville area, I have seen some marine warnings of waterspouts and stuff. I do wonder if that's gonna try later on to have some tornadic activity.
Oh yeah, that convection is not only just surging south, Daniel, but we're seeing more convection firing up in areas just outside of that big burst.
I'm also gonna be watching these the new little streams towards the south that are forming convection slowly, feeding into the storm.
Oh yeah, that's
which they're forming. I think that might be part of the redevelopment down there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Guys, is this a chance this steers towards Houston? I think it could shift a little bit further to the west, but not to Houston. Which, by the way,
Max,
let me get something real quick. This for all you who are tuning in from Houston, right here. So for all you tuning in from Houston. But yeah, All right. Let me go ahead and take a look at the cone for you guys real quickly. I do think it could shift a little bit further to the west, but I think the furthest west it could shift to is around the Lake Charles area, in my opinion, unless something completely unexpected happens with the steering currents. So, yeah.
I agree with that. Or we could have an interesting situation where maybe the jet catches it a little early, and maybe a Louisiana Texas border landfall east of Port Arthur at the most west it could go, depending on the steering current and the 254. That could happen. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch for too. But most likely it would be Louisiana, unless something.
Yeah, I think Lake Charles would be the furthest west.
Which is very bad because they don't need it.
Is it likely to shift east? If it rapidly intensifies, I could definitely see a shift to the east, but maybe more so towards Vermilion Bay, though, not towards New Orleans.
No, but in trade, y'all would get the dirty side.
Yep.
Those supercells and trade.
What happened?
Let's see.
Yeah, looking at all this now. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at in regards to that. I'm just mainly waiting on recon as well as. Okay.
I'm looking at Daniel's thing.
Yep.
None of that looks like dry air, though. Maybe just something that's redeveloping to help the storm.
It's not dry air because I've looked at every level. I've looked at every level.
It's cap.
Quite literally.
It's literally cap. Literally cap. What I'm wearing on my head.
So let's go to the mid level. I'm going to go to the mid level here.
Mid level, it's fine. Upper level, fine. It's all moist. Max low level, but it's not in the center. Nothing in the center.
There
Only
is
the outer
actually
bands.
a tiny bit of dry in lower level, but there's also a dry in the center. We don't know if that's the real eye or it's part of a broader rotation.
Okay, I'm noticing a little bit of a convective burst on the northern side now, and it's starting to fill in the dry air. Are you guys seeing that?
I'm noticing that too.
Yeah.
I'm curious on that.
Yeah, it looks like it's expanding and it's trying to develop into something, but it's too early to determine.
Yeah, you see what I mean, Daniel? There is kind of a little bit of dry air at the lower level, but there's also a poke of dry air.
Well, there's like
dry air wraparound.
There's some down here.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm seeing obviously.
I think it's actually
but in the main core here, I'm not seeing any right now.
You can see this small little string of a little bit drier air.
But
you
that's not gonna
out.
Yeah, that won't do too much as long as it's not in the center.
Is that a confluence? Dude, I have a question. Do tropical cyclones have confluence bands? I've never asked them.
Huh.
Pat, I'm curious since you know a lot more than me.
That's the first time I've been asked that. Wait, confluence.
What?
You mean? Yeah, that's the first time I've been asked that.
I'm likely wrong for that question because it likely doesn't. But I'm just curious.
But yeah, it looks like yeah. But regardless of that,
I love how the center looks like a tornado.
Hey, if we want this to become anything meaningful, we have to have that mid-level center and that lower-level center get close together.
It already is. It's been that way since this morning, Savvy.
Oh yeah, true. My bad.
All right, what's up, Weather Kingdom?
I'm gonna be heading out. I have school tomorrow. I have a cold.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
So I'll probably get going.
Give me 1 second though. What are your final thoughts on everything?
My final thoughts on this is we're gonna have to really watch this, and I'm definitely gonna be on tomorrow. Hopefully, I am feeling a little bit better. We're gonna have to really watch this, and especially with the satellite, we've seen it time and time again happen, and it develops very rapidly. Could we wake up with an 80-mile-an-hour hurricane? I think it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out. Maybe we have some rapid intensification throughout tomorrow, and we come back on here with a Cat 2 hurricane about 12 to 24 hours out from landfall. I can definitely see that. So my final thoughts is we're definitely noticing the cap is breaking, and we're just going to have to really watch this. And yeah, thank you for having me on the stream.
No problem. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a link in the description in the chat. It is Weather Kingdom's YouTube channel. Be sure you go subscribe to him. Let's see if we can get up to 100 subs. He needs 8 more. Let's see if we can get him to 100 subs by the end of this week. So that way we can get him a bit more established, and that way he can keep coming on to the streams, because we really appreciate him coming on. So
thank you.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Weather Kingdom for you. Have a nice night.
You too. Thank you, everyone.
All right. See you later.
Yep.
All right, man. Okay, so Weather Kingdom is leaving right now. He's getting ready to take care of his stuff. John, you've been kind of watching behind the scenes stuff, but you've been watching the stuff going on. You've been streaming the satellite. What's your thoughts on everything going on so far?
I've been keeping an eye on recon, and I honestly think that things are starting to get going. But I usually like to say this: we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
I would also like to correct myself. Confluence bands don't happen in tropical systems unless I believe unless they turn as tropical, but it's mostly prefrontal trop. So that might just be the band. That's my bad.
All right.
That's actually something I learned.
Okay, we got some more convection firing off on the northern side just outside of the core. This is just from a few minutes ago. If you guys are watching the stream on the Discord, let me go ahead and show you.
We're also watching a very good 3D loop from Daniel's screen too.
Yeah, let me take a look at that very quickly.
Multiple perspectives on the system.
Oh yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, things are firing up fast, and we're seeing a convective burst going on the northern side as well, from what I'm noticing on the 3D side. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm paying attention to this area, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. It's this area that's bursted up.
When will it be upgraded to a hurricane? If it keeps it up, likely by tomorrow morning.
I would say overnight or tomorrow morning. That's my
agree with that.
Yeah. Based on how things are starting to get going. But yeah. Regardless of that, we're seeing multiple areas of convection really firing up near the core. Yeah, that cap is definitely breaking right now. And based on Daniel's 3D stuff that we're looking at on the Discord, Daniel, could you? I'm going to move this over to your stream, and I want you to kind of explain to the audience what we're looking at with the 3D stuff you have.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
So, I mean, we're looking at the overall structure here with this. Right in here is where your center is roughly. And you actually can kind of make that out.
Yep.
It's a little down there. Ooh, new frame.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's center. Right there. You have more convection. Right now it's on the fringe of wrapping around. And if I put this into 3D, this is probably a little better.
This is probably the best view, to be honest.
Obviously, we still have a big open space down here, and this is expanding downward slowly, but there will at some point be a proper convection blast that will probably blow up in the center and expand downward. This looks to be the start of it. However,
Daniel, I would like
probably
to
gonna
now
take
go
a few
to-
hours.
Oh wow, we just got a donation, guys. This is Comic 4 EWE with the $20 donation. Sorry to hear about your loss of your friend, Pat. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much for that donation. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you doing that for me. I went to his funeral over the weekend, and I really appreciate all the support and all the patience you guys have given me while I waited to come back and been dealing with all that. So thank you very much with that. All right, Amanda Kirby's asking, can someone tell me what it means the cap is breaking? Essentially, Daniel, if you want to explain that, you can, or else I can. If that, or do you? Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, you can, Pat.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and do that. In layman's terms, the cap. What I mean by the cap breaking is essentially you have that stable. Okay. If you guys, the best way I can reanalyze this is through a severe weather analogy. So, with severe weather, you're familiar with the cap. It's the stable air below the very unstable air known as the convective available potential energy, or CAPE. The cap is right below that, and it holds all that CAPE back from exploding, and essentially allowing for convection to fire up. Once that cap breaks, and once the cap erodes, essentially in meteorological terms, then essentially you start seeing a bunch of convection firing up. So what I mean by the cap breaking is essentially we're starting to notice a lot more convection firing up, and that stable air is finally gone, and it's that all those storms are finally starting to tap into some very unstable air. So I hope that explains that pretty well. It's basically severe weather, but in terms of tropics, if that helps. So, yeah.
No cap allows for that air to rise all the way up. When you have that cap, you don't get above that warm layer.
Yep. Thanks for helping me with that, John.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I have something to say about that.
Sure.
Actually. Also, sorry, I've been quiet. I have a headache.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
This is how I remember cap and capping stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the analogy I was taught and I learned about was the correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the popcorn over the stove one, or hot water or something? Where like you put the lid on top of it. I forgot what it was for, but like,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then when you put the lid on top of the I forgot.
When you put the lid on top of the boiling water, yeah.
Yeah, and warm air has to rise.
Yep.
So if there's something right there stopping it, it's not going to rise. So you have to have a mechanism to make it rise.
Yep.
So, yeah. Sorry if I confused anyone. I forgot the analogy.
Yeah, essentially it's like lifting the lid off of a boiling pot of hot water. All that steam's going to rise all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that helps for everybody. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue looking at this. Daniel, you were talking about the. Oh dang! I haven't showed you. I haven't showed your screen in a while. I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Want to go back to Radar Omega?
Yeah. If that happens again, this goes for everybody watching the stream, including my guys at Storms United. If that happens again where you see a black screen other than my face, let me know as soon as possible and spam it in the chat, or basically say, Patrick, you're not showing us anything. Please turn the screen on. So that way I know.
Your brain cells.
Yes, this has happened several times. But anyway. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, looking back at this, Daniel, you were saying some stuff. Would you like to continue? In terms of all this convection that you're noticing.
Convection. Yes.
Yeah.
Water vapor shows all the convection flares off very well.
Yeah.
And that thing is still trying to close itself off on that very edge.
Oh yeah.
Up on the north edge. Second it does that, I feel like this blast will have a very fun time towards the south.
Definitely will. And you're also noticing, like you said, that expansion towards the south in terms of that convection, and the east as well, with it starting to wrap around as well. So it's slow but steady, and you're noticing that northern burst starting to get its act together a bit more as well. It's a little slower than the southern side, but you're finally starting to get there. We're looking at minus 50 to minus 60 degree cloud tops right there, where we were looking at earlier, we were not even really seeing anything. Like 30 minutes ago, we weren't really seeing much convection firing up. Now we're starting to see a little bit. So that's something to pay attention to. Also watching recon as well. Recon's going back into that band, a huge band of convection. I really want them to sample the southern side of the convection now that we know that there's stuff over there, because I want to see if the winds are finally catching up to the pressure. That's the main thing I'm watching for with that.
I'm gonna watch this radar loop.
Okay.
This gives us a good view of where this thing's tracking. Still heading towards South Texas at this rate.
Yeah, it's west northwest.
Jogging a little north, but still on a
this was expected, though, at least right now. This was expected in the terms of it moving over there and then kind of staying offshore and then heading towards Louisiana after a day or so. That was expected. I am surprised at how much further to the west it went, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still going. So when does it make the turn? It's always with these storms.
Looks like it's going to make that turn tonight. It's going to make that turn tonight once that jet kicks in. So,
by the way, if you look back in the early loop, you see this little spin.
Yep.
That's the remnants of 90L kind of merging with it.
Oh, wow.
Because 90L completely got sucked into this, because obviously this one was the more dominant one.
Yep.
And 90L is no more. But, that trough is still kicking. That goes all the way across Florida and all the way up the East Coast.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, this storm, its effects are being felt over here because it's colliding with that trough.
Yeah.
And expanding outward. Mix that with onshore breeze, and Florida's having flooding issues as always. But I mean, you see that. But besides that,
that dry air is mixing out quickly, guys. If
there is any.
Yeah, those cloud tops are kind of starting to get merged together. I'm noticing as well. Yeah, there's not much. I don't think there's really much dry air that's getting mixed out. It's just all the convection needs to merge together, and then this thing can go off. It's one of those rare scenarios where dry air's not doing anything.
This thing, if it blasts correctly and holds it for long, we could go from a tropical storm to maybe even. Anything can happen. Honestly, Cat 2 right now, it's just because that's saying, it's strengthening at a good rate. If this thing blasts with convection and really gets its act together, we've seen it before with Gulf systems, that they really do not like the coastline. They like to torment the coastline once they strengthen this thing could go from the strength to Cat 2 plus in less than 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
If that happens, if it blew up and by the time it's off directly paralleling South Texas from the storm center, wherever it will be.
Yeah, for sure.
Has a day and a half until landfall, so Cat 3 wouldn't be out of the question, but
yeah.
Of course, I don't want to panic anybody.
Of course, no.
Being safer than sorry, because 100 miles per hour is nothing to take lightly.
It most certainly is not. Tristan, you've
been quite...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, everybody thinks that lower-end storms are nothing to threat, especially Florida. People have learned that the hard way, especially... Let's say more one that unfortunately took lives of few. Katrina, when that thing blew by as a weak hurricane. Some people lost their lives even in 75 mile per hour winds. That is because of people's attitude with hurricanes overall, thinking it's a weak hurricane, nothing's gonna happen.
Small things add up.
Power and power poles coming down, trees coming down. Yeah, things can happen still. Even if your infrastructure is built up. And with this one, it's going to be, wherever it makes landfall, it's going to be the surge in those areas. Since that coastline is kind of eroding away in certain areas. The marshlands are struggling. In the current age, so it's
for sure
not really protected anymore.
Yeah. Okay, Tristan, I'm looking at satellite imagery, and first satellite imagery right now. I'm noticing a lot more convective bursts. I'm noticing at least I'm noticing 2 small ones. 3 on total on the north side, 2 smaller ones, but 1 bigger one on the northern side, just outside of that core, and of course that southern side. What are your thoughts on everything so far that we've been seeing over the last 30 minutes? Has the cap broken, or do we need more time?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it has broken somewhat, but I think we need maybe a few hours before the whole thing.
Sure.
Either that or it's releasing right now and the cyclone going for a process now of getting the convection.
Yeah. All right. So this is for everybody who's still in here. What do you think the NHC is going to go for at 10 p.m.?
What is the current
70
recon showing?
Say 65, maybe 70.
Daniel?
I think a 70 call would be fine. However, what's recon data right now showing?
They're supporting. I think if it were to hold right now, and unless they got into that southern side, it would hold at 65, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Probably holding 65 for now. Not saying there is a spot in the storm that could be higher. That is possible, but for right now, our support is 65 miles per hour, mainly in the storm.
All right. We'll go ahead. I'll also create a poll for our audience, for them to have a little bit of fun while we wait. Which strength do you think they're going to go, ladies and gentlemen in the chat? 65 or 70? Here is the poll. It's going up right now. Go ahead and vote on it right now. Will this go 70 or 65? Be sure to put your stuff in there so that way we can go ahead and get your opinions on this as you've been watching our coverage and you've been seeing the evolution of this system.
And they already posted the update. They stayed 65, I think.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. The pressure's down to 992 millibars, about what I expected. Any new changes? No changes. Okay, no changes with the advisory. So yeah, guess that ends it right there. What's the forecast going for 100?
They shortened guys. They shortened the peak too. It's only 185 knot peak now.
I'm not surprised about that because of the proximity it is to land at this current point. The cone is out. At 7 p.m. on Wednesday, it's already inland at that current point. So, yeah, it's slowing down some, and it looks like it's going to make that turn tonight. It's going to be hovering over that part of the Gulf in that eddy, and based on stuff we're seeing, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and read out the discussion because that's what we usually do. After strengthening this afternoon, Francine's intensity appears to have leveled off for now. Around 18C today, microwave imagery indicated that it had a closed low-level eye wall and a relatively symmetric cloud pattern. However, an intrusion of dry air has caused the inner core convection to degrade. The Air Force NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft have been investigating Francine this evening and found maximum sustained winds have changed little from earlier and remain at 55 knots. However, the minimum central pressure from the aircraft has dropped to 992 millibars, which could indicate that strengthening will resume soon. The outer rain bands in the western, northwest, and the center are very near the coastlines of northeastern Mexico and extreme southern Texas, and there is likely some tropical storm force winds in those bands. That's pretty interesting right there. Environmental conditions are forecast to remain quite favorable for strengthening along Francine's path for the next 24 hours, with favorable warm ocean waters while remaining in a low shear environment. The ship's index for rapid intensification over the last 24 hours has decreased a little due to some dry air in the environment around Francine. The NHC intensity forecast is similar to the previous one, just lies near the higher end of the intensity guidance. Just prior to landfall, Francine should encounter increasing west-southwesterly vertical wind shear, which will likely end the intensification, and rapid weakening is expected after the storm moves inland. That's pretty interesting how the NHC is going with this right now. They held it at 65, so it is what it is. The poll, out of 55 people who voted, 60% said 70, 40 said 65. We're going to go ahead and end the poll now now that we have the official NHC. But what we're looking at now is a bit of a different picture than what we were seeing just a few hours ago, where, dry air definitely was causing some problems with it. But now things are starting to wake up. Things are starting to get back on track. We're seeing multiple areas of convection really starting to burst up. And we're still seeing that hot tower starting to get its act together over here on the northwestern side as well, which is pretty interesting as we continue going on.
Is that what happens tonight and tomorrow will determine the landfall.
Yes.
I know they go 100 miles an hour. I'm still a little skeptical that they lowered it a little bit. We've seen systems that dealt with dry air with interactions from troughs and jets literally just suddenly explode out of nowhere. But we also see storms struggle after. So we will see what happens. It's just a matter of watching. But I do expect. When do they have this as a hurricane? In 12 hours? But the way it was doing well with the dry air, I would say a little sooner if it could get it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems on par for now. But by tomorrow, if we already have something better than 75 miles an hour by tomorrow, by their time scale, this system it won't overperform too much. I think this is one of those cases, hopefully I'm right, where the NHC will actually have maybe they'll miss it 5-10 miles hour, but so far I think they're banking on the money very well.
All right.
Which is really good for a system that is close to home.
It definitely seems as if right now that it's gotten a lot of its problems taken care of. I'm sorry, who wanted to say something?
Me.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I'm just looking at these areas of convection, but all I'm starting to see is that pretty much that center is closed off at this point.
From any dry air or strapped around.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
It's closed off, and there's also, if you look on the northern edge of where it's closed off, there's a new little cold tower forming.
Is it now on the northwest side? Because I see it too.
Yes.
Yep, I saw it.
If that gets going, that's gonna officially close everything off correctly.
Yeah.
And once that happens, oh dear God.
Yep.
But that other convection blast is slowly spreading all throughout right now. So yeah.
Definitely has been. Okay. Look at the... All right, yeah, it's that northern tower definitely is starting to get its act together. I'm seeing a couple minus 60s in there as of me looking at this right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, things are starting to get their act together for sure. Just the main question is what's it going to do tonight? And we'll have to see. But ultimately, okay. Oh, yeah. But ultimately, what are your guys' thoughts overall from what we saw tonight?
Just watch it and see what happens.
Yep.
All that we can do.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty much. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens tomorrow. And overnight tonight will be very big in determining what will happen. And things are going to be very interesting going forward. And we will keep you updated.
I'm very curious to see something. Not
For
necessarily the storm itself.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see. And I think this is going to be one of the big besides fall.
Yeah.
What does the Storm Prediction Center do with its risk over the next 2 years?
Yeah.
With the way the mesoscale and the subnautic setup is with this system too. I'm very curious to see what occurs at least with the tornado act. Because on one hand, it seems like a good tornado environment, but jets have a thing of making the storm too compact. But a lot of the models, with some convective and a lot of the tropical models, are agreeing on a pretty robust right side of supercell.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious on what happens. And I wonder if by day 1 we'll see an enhanced risk of also.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens in that regard. But ultimately, the thing I want to stress to you guys tonight is right now things are in place. We're seeing multiple areas of convection really fire off on a lot of cylinders, and we need to pay attention to it. But regardless of that, we will keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us get more people engaged with weather. The goal of this channel, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. If you want to come hang out with us at Storms United, be sure to join our Discord server. It's in the pinned chat up above in the stream. But with that being said, have a wonderful night, guys. Stay safe.